All right. I think we are good to go. I think we're here. I think we're recording. All the things are set. Couple technical difficulties, but we good to go. How does it look? Look good on your end?
I can hear you, buddy.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. What is it? What is the episode now? 32, 31, 39, 30, 40? What is it? What are we at now?
We're in our 30s, that's for sure.
Dude,
You
it's a
might not be, but I am.
well on the way. It is an exciting time in the BCIHL. There's so much good stuff going, and not to give too much away, but us being the University of Victoria hockey broadcast team, we're pretty happy as Vikes fans right now. Can you say that there, Matt? You agree with
Are
that?
you feeling it? You feeling it over there in Ontario?
The heat, it's spreading nationwide, dude. It's reaching us down in the southern Ontario area, man. So it's hitting. It's a good time. A lot of the new players stepping up. A lot of the guys we thought were going to be some big names without kind of any prior knowledge other than their previous leagues that they were in. But these new guys come in. Oh man, so much good to talk about. Lots of positive in the Vikes conversation.
Yes, sir. Yeah, right now, Reese, UVic sits in first place. Now, I don't remember last season when we were working together if the Vikes were ever in first place. I don't think so. The SFU was dominant.
Yeah.
VIU had a lot of firepower. But this year, this UVic team, it's a little bit early still. We're not quite at the halfway mark of the season, but they're on a roll, no doubt about that.
Absolutely. Oh, they're rolling. It's looking good. They look nice in their jerseys. So the guys got nameplates. I mean, I remember at this point last season, there was a couple of guys without nameplates.
Exactly.
So everything seems organized. I'm sure Harry is super satisfied. I'll ask you as a correspondent from here in Southern Ontario, how is the morale around the volunteer team and the upper management, the coaching? How's the feeling? What's the vibe like in the E&H Stewart complex nowadays?
Well, right now, I would say it's a lot about leaning on the other teammates there. You doing your job and the other teammates going, because as we're going to get into today, there's definitely some star power on the Vikes, but getting by working together seems to be working well for the Vikes right now. And specifically from the goalie out, which we can talk about later. But we miss you on the volunteer team, buddy. We got some new volunteers down there. Sarah is still rocking the at the door. And Shayla, shout out to Shayla. She's been doing some color. And of course, just the typical game day gong show, which is me trying to set up the feed. So you're missing out on some good kind of pounding coffees and trying to hook up the wires. But you know what? We're getting by just fine.
Yeah, well, now
miss you over here on the call.
So since it's on YouTube, has that made the process of setting up any easier?
No. No, but you know what? We did get a scoreboard. That's the news from the broadcast team that update last night, which we do have a scoreboard up there so you can tell hopefully what period and what the score is when you tune in. So that is a big breakthrough.
Wow. Yeah. We're heading out of 1995. One at a time. Come on.
Exactly. Yeah. Make everybody in Carlisle, Saskatchewan proud with that technological skill.
Absolutely.
That's my hometown, by the way.
Shit, the hometown.
What do you see when you're looking at these standings, Reese? Now, from a bird's eye view, give me a few thoughts on what you see in the standings and maybe, looking at some of the leading scorers. What are you seeing over there?
Well, I'll throw up a little graphic right now over the video just so everybody can take a look at these standings. But basically, the Vikes are on top. They got a 7-1-0 record. Right in second place is the OK Lakers, 5-3 and 1 OT loss. And then at third, completely unexpectedly, has to be VIU, because you'd think, just based on the competitiveness between those three teams playing each other, they got to be close, even though the Vikes are just taking charge with it. But VIU in third place with that 4-2-0 on the season, 6 games, and SFU. So again, if anybody's just catching up now, this is a different SFU team from last year. It came down into a B team. We went over it if you want more info on that. check out some past in the corners, but they're in fourth. So obviously that's the most shocking thing, right? If we're going in just without keeping that whole scenario in mind. And
Mhm.
in last place is the Logan Lake Miners, who are still slowly progressing in their game. But there was a close one against the Vikes, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that sure was a close game.
Right. So they're not
Yeah,
going.
and oh, sorry. I'm last to update you. Last night, SFU beat Logan Lake. So SFU, as we're taping now, is 3-3-1. So
Oh, okay.
they're up to 7 points. Logan Lake 0-8.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, yeah, it doesn't. If we're looking a little bit in more depth to to how the teams are playing, pretty shocked with the goal differential between the Lakers and VIU. I don't remember. Was last year? And I don't want to go back and check. Was last year similar in that sense too? I figured VIU was outscoring the Lakers by like just a landslide. It's pretty crazy to see. You know,
Yep.
almost 8 games in, almost 10 games in here, and they're looking like they're scoring the same amount of goals. That's definitely an improvement for Logan. I mean, for the OK Lakers for sure.
Well, one new thing about the Lakers is they have a potent offense this season. They added a new top six. And when I give you my report there, I'll talk about that. But they are a high flying scoring team. VIU, they have one game against the Miners this season that they won 15-2. So that's throwing off the goal differential a little bit there. VIU is still looking to get their stride, but the Lakers it's anybody's it's a race for anybody to go up and win right now.
Right.
I'm serious about that. The Lakers look good. And even SFU played the Vikes tough back in October. So
Definitely
not a lot of blowouts. Not a lot of blowouts in this year in this league.
Yeah, definitely better to see that. It's a little bit of a breath of fresh air. SFU just taking total domination. As much as we had lots of positives to talk about each individual team in the BCIHL, it was all SFU. Who are we kidding? If we're being honest, just based on how well they looked. But moving on here, let's move on to the scorers. So I'll hit you with the top 10, give you a little bit about the guys just sitting outside of that top 10. So number one, not very surprising, Ethan Jones for VIU. This is a guy who was putting up points last year. Did he lead the league in points last year?
That was Garrett Dunlop, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So his line mate.
But he was up there.
Yeah, he was up there. And he's currently got, what has he got? 8 goals and 8 assists for 16 points in 6 games. So again, the production they're getting it in VIU, they expect it, and they've pretty much got it the last 3 years consistently. So
Yep.
right under that is KT Walters with 8 goals, 7 assists in 9 games. So 3 games in hand for Ethan Jones, which is
Right.
impressive how much he's carrying the bag over there. But also just impress. You mentioned, and we'll go deeper into it, but that offensive OKL, something to be talked about. And then third is a guy that we're also going to go a little bit deeper into, is Owen Evers for UVic. He's got 6 goals, 9 assists for 15 points in 8 games. That is a guy who's came in and has just been notable, to say the least. At number 4, Jordan Lario for Logan Lake. So for the fourth place in leading scoring, just under 10 games in the season, a guy from Logan Lake. I mean, again, the team is going through a transition into a new league, but that is just something you want to keep your eye on, right? He's got 4 goals, 11 assists, so definitely more of a playmaker, pass first type of guy, just going based on stats here. He's got 15 points in 7 games. That's not something, that's not nothing. So got to be happy about that.
He rips around out there. He's good.
Quick. He's a quick skater.
Yeah.
Okay, love to see it. Grasp onto the positive things if you're Logan Lake. Let's be honest. Moving on here. Logan Kirky for VIU. So he's another guy who's looking like a pure passer. 2 goals, 13 assists. He's got 15 points in 6 games. That's very good. You can see these VIU guys putting up a lot of points and very little, not very little, but less of a sample size than the rest of these. Moving on to number 6, SFU player, Nick Wagner, looking like a real goal scorer, one of the more pure goal scorers so far we're seeing early on. 9 goals and 5 assists in 6 games for SFU, so that's pretty good. And again, within the top 10, you got 2 Logan Lake guys. Gavin Matei, 7 games, 6 goals, 8 assists, 14 points. You can't be mad about that too. So you got 2 players with over 10 points in less than 10 games. Pretty good. I mean, more than 13 points, even at that. So pretty
Yeah,
impressive.
he's a rough and tumble player. Really good on the forecheck, creates a lot of scoring for the Logan Lake team. Nice to see them putting up some goals this season. They can fill the net pretty well. They put up 5 against the Vikes just last weekend.
Yeah, that's something to keep.
Was it 4? I think it was 4.
Goes back to what we were saying earlier about don't come into those games with low expectations because they'll catch you. And especially now with a potent offense, well, more potent offense, let's say that for sure. Yeah, pretty impressive. Love to see it. Moving on here to the last 3 spots in this top 10. At number 8 is Johnny Carmichael from the Lakers. So in 9 games, 6 goals, 8 assists. Right under that, at the number 9 spot, is his teammate Carter Bettinson. He's got 9 in 9 games. He's got 3 goals, 11 assists. Is he a D-man? Is Bettinson a D-man?
Forward.
He's a forward. Wow, another pure playmaker, low goal scoring, but
only one defenseman in the top 10.
Oh, is that not someone Evers, isn't it?
Yes.
Impressive. So I'm excited to get into that. But last guy in the top 10, Brock Palmer. I mean, you can't go wrong with that. He was in.
You heard of him before?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember calling the guy for VIU. He's got 9 goals and 4 assists in 6 games. So 3 big players for VIU putting up points. Brock Palmer, Logan Kirky, and Ethan Jones. This Kirky guy new? I don't remember him. Was he?
Yeah, he's new. He scored last night in a losing effort against the Vikes. I think he's well known from coming from Humboldt.
Oh,
he's from the Broncos. He's got wearing number 11 out there for VIU. Palmer's number 38 now. Oh, so imagine that, Reese.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. Make things more difficult.
What's that?
Makes things a little bit more difficult on your end as the play-by-play.
Oh, yes. It's a circus out there for me. The Vikes are on a 6-game win streak. Out of that top 10, the other thing, Reese, 1 Vikes player, right?
Yes.
Yet they're 7-1. That's kind of interesting, wouldn't you say?
Yep. It is interesting. And one thing you can notice is, like I was going to mention right in the beginning of when I went over these players within the top 10, any of the guys that you see outside the top 10, you're seeing a lot of UVic. Right out at 11 and 12, you got Booker Daniel, you got Schofield. Go only 2 spots under that, you got Ryan Strange. Another 2 spots under that, Thomas Jenkins. So you're seeing that they're scoring by company, they're scoring by committee, rather than having a couple guys carry the bag. As our last interview, that was that we kind of went over that.
It's so true, man. Like this season, for forwards in the BCIHL teams, how do I word this? 5 points or more by a forward per team. See what I mean?
Yeah.
How many forwards on your team have 5 points or more? VIU has 6 forwards with 5 or more. UVic has 10.
Wow.
And the Lakers, they have 10 as well. So they have a spread out offensive attack as well. That's something to keep in mind here. UVic and Okanagan have a nice spread out offensive attack so far. VIU needs a bit more of that to pop up there and get some wins off of these guys. Absolutely. Scoring depth, right?
Yeah.
DEF. It's depth.
Yes.
So now, go ahead, Reese.
We caught ourselves a little pickle here, but I was saying we can go over the teams. You wanted to go over each team individually and give a little speech on them based on what you've seen as the play-by-play guy. Do you want to do that right now?
Sure. I'll give you a thought on each team. You let me know how it hits you, okay? UVic is built from the net out. Sean Parkinson, and then the defense core. Now, here's something about UVic, Reese. UVic has 31 points from their defensemen so far, total, collectively, okay? 31. Second is the Lakers with 20 and 19 from VIU. So early in the season, the Vikes are scoring from their defense, their back end. That makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Evers has, I think it's Evers has 15 points. Aiden Morrison has 7 points. If it wasn't for Evers, Aiden Morrison would be leading defenseman in scoring. So
Wow.
they have the top two.
Wow.
That's a big difference. And there's some great new defensemen in the league too. And also Max Struss, Isaac Dutka, there's some good defensemen in the league, but the Vikes so far are having big performance from their defense. That's the one thing I notice about them. How does that hit you?
That gives me nothing but glee as a longtime Vike supporter and continuous. Obviously, love the league, BCIHL, but I'll tell you right now, it's good to see that the Vikes are getting their time. Unfortunately, it's not the year that I'm there, but it's good to see it no matter what. And we're doing the coverage about it, but I love to see it. We had a feeling about Owen Evers. We knew that when that guy was coming, there's going to be an impact from him and the couple other guys that came through from the same team that he was on a year before. So
Yep.
very exciting times to be a Vikes fan. That's kind of all I'll say.
That's so true. Moving on to VIU Mariners, they're 4-2. Their 2 losses are against the Vikes, so they don't need to really panic. They got they beat the Vikes once, so in the season series, that's going to be a close matchup anyway. So the 4-2 record, the third place, it's a bit misleading because they have some games to make up. They're going to play Logan Lake twice before Christmas, rack up some more points. They have a big game November 18th at the Lakers. But I think for VIU this season, they have the potential to be the team that grows the most if they can. Okay. Like I mentioned, their scoring depth, hasn't kickstarted yet. They have Jones, Kirky Palmer, Rouser, Earhart. Those guys kind of score most of their goals, right? So if the team wants to jump up and kind of take back they were kind of scouted as the best team in the league, right, to begin the season. If they want that, they're going to need their depth to show up like the Vikes have rolling right now. The other one more note on VIU is the goaltending. They're playing Derek Crawl a lot again. Fournier's got in a couple times, but it's mostly Crawl that they go to in these big games. Crawl's been good. Crawl's been, especially in the one win at UVic. But they have sitting on their bench Jeremy Robar. He won the preseason game against the Vikes. And I'm just wondering how that's going to play out down the stretch. How is Crawl going to do? And is Jeremy Robar going to get in there and be a star kind of the second half? So let's keep our eye on that. Reese, what do you think of those thoughts on VIU?
Yeah, VIU is scary. They are a team that's ready to go. They look like they did obviously have some loss for sure in terms of players moving on, but they look like they've had a lot of gain as well. They look like a slightly different team to approach. And I could see them feeling like a team primed to take whoever in the playoffs, especially the Vikes, and fight for that championship. Because as much as the Vikes have been hurting for some success, VIU's been right behind SFU. So that's obviously got to brew some hatred and some motivation to go in there and just take over.
Yeah, they're coming off that fantastic trip to Alaska where they played the NCAA teams.
Yep.
They're going to find their groove. So don't sleep on the Mariners, right? We know how good they are, but they're showing a bit of kind of holes in their armor so far at the start of the season. They really missing Morton on defense. Tyson Lotar is kind of their leader. He's number 4. He's a good defenseman back there, but they're looking for a bit more stability. Last night I liked Cole McGuire too. He's another kind of a tough defenseman who could move it. We'll see about that. Now on to the Lakers. You ready?
Yes.
I'll try and speed this up a little bit. Lakers have good goaltending. They got both of their starting goalies are over 900 in save percentage. That's amazing in this league because shots are coming from all over the place. Jordan Little and Connor Lemieux. Here's the thing I want to see from Okanagan. They had a really gut-wrenching game against UVic last Saturday night. It was a 3-1 loss. UVic won that game. They Sean Parkinson, he made more than 35 saves. Kind of stoned him in that one. But what I'm looking for from the Lakers is to put up a crooked number and to break out offensively against either the Mariners or the Vikes. They have the scoring depth. They're ready to do it. They
Yeah.
got to take their offensive game to the next level against the elite teams. And that starts November 18th when they host VIU. Can they put up, 7 or 8 goals on those guys? Flex
Right.
their muscle a little bit and kind of have a coming out party because they're deep and they got some good mustaches and they're feeling good there for the Lakers. What's your feeling on the Lakers so far?
Yeah, that's another team that I feel they're not going to have as much compete in terms of just personal rivalry as the Mariners will with the Vikes, but I do not think they're going to be I think they're going to be a team that can take control of any game if you just come in on a flat foot. So if the Vikes
Yes.
don't come playing early on, they can put up a couple quick goals and just defend after that because I don't think they're a horrible defending team. And like you've mentioned, their goaltending is competent, above average. So especially in this league. So what can you ask for, right? This is a team that is also going to feel the same way that the Mariners are, primed for a championship, primed for success. So Vikes are just going to have to keep their eyes out for that. The rest of the league is as well. But do I think that they have any quality to their lineup or style of play that is impenetrable? No, I think that they are beatable. I think that there's
Yeah.
a lot of players that can be exploited, especially by the Vikes. So we'll see how it translates later into the season.
Yes. And you know what? We say this on our show all the time, Reese. This league is so much about which team improves the most. You know, like we have a lot of evidence now, almost half a season, but the Lakers, they can gel offensively and start racking them up quick. So watch out for them. Now, are you ready for the Red Leafs?
Let's go.
BCIHL Red Leafs team. Okay, a couple things about them. When they came to play the Vikes, they were shorthanded. I think they had 4 defensemen and 12 forwards, something like that. They don't have a lot of players on their roster because it's not an expansion team, but it's an inaugural season in this setup, right? So it's not like they have 25 players to pick through.
Yeah,
So they have a short bench. So that's a bit of a weakness, I think.
for sure.
But what's going on for them is their forward players are big. They're forwards, which is kind of unique for the league. A lot of the players in the league are speedsters and kind of muscly, but they have some towers up there. Liam Tivers, Nick Wagner, Max Lightfoot, Alec Pettingale, especially Tivers and Pettingale. They're pretty big dudes, kind of like Hilton. Remember him, that big guy? They have some of that tradition continuing for them. So that allows them to take over long stretches of the game. But we'll see with SFU. They got 3 wins under their belt right now. That's about all I've noticed so far. The non-conference team, they won somewhere over in Pennsylvania last weekend too. So they're cooking along good as well. So, they took some losses to Michigan and those big games against Boston College are coming up next month or in January. But they beat a team over in Pennsylvania somewhere. So we're keeping an eye on them too.
Yeah.
What do you think of that whole thing at this point, Reese?
The short bench thing is very key. I'm glad you pointed that out. Obviously, thinking about it, you could probably kind of predict an issue like that coming up, especially during your first year, but that is going to hurt. A lot of these teams have, at least I found this year, a lot of these teams brought in a lot of new guys. And with a lot of new guys tends to mean young blood, and young blood means these guys are going to just be full of stamina and there's going to be a lot of them. So that's just like the work ethic aspect to the BCIHL, I think, is a little bit more this year, just with all the new blood coming to the league. And it seems like SFU doesn't have a whole lot of that, or they have a full team of that, but not much extra. Very short bench. Like you said, yeah, that is going to be very tough to deal with. That's a big detriment to their success of their team. If they can kind of get through that. And if I'm being honest, 3-3-0-1 record to me is not bad.
No.
That's not horrible, right? So
they took the Vikes to overtime.
Yeah. So I think that's pretty impressive with the short bench that they're able to do that. But that also means for the other teams, you really got to take advantage of that. You got to keep shifts short, just kind of batter them almost like a playoff game early on, get them tired. And then by the third period, It should almost feel like a power play for 20 minutes.
Yep. Last thing for me on SFU, their head coach, Mark Soares, he has a really good reputation around the league. I've heard Harry complimenting him. So he's going to get them going and get them in good playing as a team this year or next year. So they're not going anywhere. Who knows how this is going to play out for SFU? We're rooting for you guys and we've got our eyes on you. But the one thing is, I would bet on is they're going to have good hockey teams, whatever league they're in. Yeah. So that includes the BCIHL. Lastly, Logan Lake. Hey, did you know I went to Logan Lake with the team?
Yeah, how was that? How was that trip?
Well, Logan Lake, it's like 40 minutes outside of Kamloops, and it's like a valley, and the rink is kind of next to an old school strip mall in a rural area, and the strip mall has a movie rental place. Oh. And an ice cream shop. It's a very small town. It reminds me of home, but BC style. Then the barn is tight. They had a lot of fans there for the Miners, and they played hard that night. The Miners, they took the Vikes kind of down to the wire. They lost the game 5-4. The Vikes won that game. But they played with it was a bit too late because they were down, but they need that killer instinct to get their first victory. They need it. They're right there. It's happening. I'm kind of upset for them that it didn't happen last night. I was trying to watch on YouTube to see if they're going to beat SFU. One of the things that, I got a lot of respect for the Kelly brothers, the two goalies there, the new goalies for the Miners, but they started one of the Kelly brothers last night against SFU. And you know me, I'm a fan of Matthew Enns for the Miners. I think he's going to win them their first game whenever it happens. It's going to be him. I just thought last night, Matthew Enns should have been in there against SFU to go for that first win. Maybe he started the game and I missed something there, but they need that killer instinct against SFU. Put in your star goalie and go and get a win. Those are my thoughts on Logan Lake Miners. What are you seeing for these guys? They're scoring more. What else you see?
They're scoring more. They got some big players that are capable of scoring. I think they just need to be I don't know how I could title this in a quick, snappy way, but the team that takes advantage of other teams' mistakes. So they should just be the team that works hard, does what they can. You're not going to beat other teams with certain type of, try to zone. We'll try to do this, try this. No, just try to outwork, play normal hockey, get it out of your zone. They're honestly going to be going to get badgered just based on the skill difference. I mean, it's clear, but they have some big players. Look for some outlet passes and try to catch them on those changes, right? Like any team on earth can be victim to a bad line change. Be that team with that offensive power, make strategic movements as a coach to make sure the right players are on with full energy right as the other team's best players are subbing off. Try to be coordinated in that sense where you're just going towards fighting against their mistakes, their mishaps, right? Like that's how you're going to capitalize on a win, or because you can't depend on a team having a bad. I remember last season there was a game, I think it was like 2-1 Vikes. We went right down to the wire at home. The Vikes were at home, and Logan Lake made it close. They just made it close. Honestly, if we're being honest, there was a bunch of times that we got bailed out goaltending wise. Logan Lake was all over it. And it's like, you're not going to get that. You're not going to be able to have a sustainable season if you're going to depend on teams having a game like that. So what you got to do is you just got to make every game you better be perfect, because you might be badgering us offensively, but if we have one little look into a big chance, we're taking it, so try to be that type of team, especially with those new scorers.
Logan Lake Miners, they're like a boiling pot of hot water right now. And they're going to pour it on at some point here and get that win. Just nobody wants to be the team to lose to them. That's the other thing that's kind of hurting them right now.
Right.
Okay, RHYS. Now, I was wondering if you had any kind of big picture thoughts about the league that you want to run by me. We're missing you down here on the play-by-play, but you're still keeping an eye on the league, hey? So You want to run some ideas by me? And have you thought of any you wanted to ask me about?
Yeah, well, I'll leave one big one for the viewers at home and also you to think about.
Okay.
Who is the best player in the league? I feel like it's a big question. Initially, people who watched all of last season will say it's got to be Ethan Jones. The top 10 in scoring shows you who truly is the person who's making the biggest difference on their team, and it's got to be him. But I do still feel like the system that's been implemented through that great coaching at VIU, that it's not just him carrying the bag. He does have some of his older guys, the Palmers, that are helping him get that. And that's what's facilitating his great output.
Mm-hmm.
Is it fair to say someone who's brand new to the league and is starting off crazy hot, like an Owen Evers? Is that a guy who's ripping hot cheddar jalapeno bombs?
Maybe getting warmer.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Is that a guy who we could call the best because he's done nothing but show up and shine? All right. So there's him. Or can we say, well, why can't it be someone who's off the top 10 of scoring? Maybe it's a guy like Dan Gaddenby who's finding a way to make his team go 7-1-0.
Getting even warmer.
You know what I mean? So I'm going to leave those three, examples. But do you have any other guys that either I failed to mention, or can you further push any of the guys that I mentioned further into that spot of the best player in the league?
This is a really timely question because Reese, you and I have been kind of obsessed with this because last year we had Connor Nolan and Garrett Dunlop, put up all those points. But you know what? This year's Vikes team is kind of changing my attitude about hockey the more I watch them, because I would say the leading candidate for me for MVP right now is Sean Parkinson from the Vikes, the goaltender.
Wow.
And you know what? I've always heard this said that the good team is built from the net out. Then you start thinking about the Vikes defensive core. And then you start thinking about the forwards. And now I'm kind of seeing it more what people have always been saying when they talk about that. I would say, though, Gattenby has 2 points in 6 games, but none of that really matters anymore because he's killing penalties and the team is winning tight games. Yeah. So it's not really about the score sheet like I used to think it was all about that. No. So those are my 2 thoughts there. Of the well-rounded team of the Vikes, it's really intoxicating to be around because it's Sadrakis 1 game, Stratton Pickett a game-winning goal against the Lakers, Evers an overtime winner. Last night, Booker Daniel with the game-winning goal. Lucas Thompson had a game-winning goal in Nanaimo. See what I'm getting at here? So it's an interesting question, though. I will say Ethan Jones, he's leading VIU now. He's got the golden stick. I don't know what you call it.
He's got carrying the team a little bit. Like
he is. So he's got an argument for that as well. Interesting question to see though for the second half. Who will be the BCIHL player to kind of be the MVP of the second half? Because you just listed a great list for the first half.
Yeah, what we'll do is we'll go back to what we said here right at the end of the season before playoff starts, and we'll go over to see if those guys stayed in that mix or maybe a couple other guys come out of nowhere and just kind of take that from those couple of guys.
Oh, yes, right on. Now, Reese, I was thinking, do you want to do a number 1 unit? We'd have to get into a new meeting here.
Let's look into it.
Hey, by the way, before we get to that, before we end this meeting here, what's going on with you over there? The fans want to know. I know you're working at a restaurant, and give us a little scouting report on what you've been doing for a minute.
Yep. So I was covering some of the family down at a restaurant in Hamilton. It's called Meltwich. It's owned by my girlfriend's family. I was working there for a bit. Nice. And then now I'm doing back to the construction that I was doing before, working in Oakville, getting the paycheck, nice little workout in. And yeah, I'm still doing a little bit of DJing here and there. So I might
nice
gigs for that. So that'll be exciting. And yeah, still networking out, trying to find another team to do some commentary with.
Yes.
And yeah, still paying attention to the Vikes, following, doing my research, and keeping up.
Right on, man. Good to hear. Good to see you're doing well. Well, what do you think? Should we hop on another meeting and do our number one unit?
Let's do it.
All right, fire me a link.
So
Hey, so are you in a hockey pool this year?
I am in. You know what? I'll tell you this right now, and it'll be a little bit of an interesting discussion because I'm sure a lot of the people who watch this or who enjoy the Vikes or who have relatives who play for the Vikes or in the BCHL for that matter, we all do a little bit of fantasy. You know what I mean? And I don't mean the FanDuel stuff where people are blasting parlays. You know, I'm talking fantasy sport. I'm talking just pick a team. You do it. You pick a day for the draft. Everybody knows fantasy. It's a great time. So my fantasy team is really cool. I wouldn't mind reading out to you some of my picks here.
Yeah.
Because we'll introduce what we're going to talk about for the BCIHL in a second. But let me just go through theirs, and I think you're going to like some of my picks. All right. So
I believe you. Lay it on me.
Oh, okay. So right off the bat, you obviously got your 6 forwards, your 4D, and then your how many is it? 5 or 4? I got 4 bench guys, and then you got your IR spots for guys you want to hold on to who got injured. So let's start from the top. Evgeny Malkin. Okay. Kuzmenko from Vancouver.
Right.
Connor McDavid, because out of 8 people, I got the first overall pick, which hasn't helped me this year, by the way. If you guys know anything about the NHL, this is like the worst start McDavid's ever had, including an injury ever. So that's been weird, but I'm sure it'll fix itself later in the season. I'm not worried about that. After that, we got Cole Caulfield, you know, the little guy.
That's your guy.
The smiley face killer, right-handed on that side. Bang. Oh man, you should have saw that wrist shot against Detroit the other day. Oh my good lord.
Were you loving it?
Oh man.
Hey, so are you the type of fan? Do you yell and raise your arms and do you get into the game?
So that's a playoff thing. That's a huge thing. That's a rivalry thing. But I do a little. I'm not gonna lie. I can't not make a noise. Like one time, I had to be really quiet, and I like audibly made like a noise, and it was weird. So yeah, I used to. Fun fact: I used to go to some classes at UVic that I really didn't care for, and like they would score, and I'm like I would like move in my head.
You were watching the game in class.
Oh yeah, I wasn't caring, and I would just like move my chair and like kind of freak out. People thought I'd like twit. I had like some sort of twit. Watching hockey.
Well, that's so, like I just did that podcast for the Vikes road trip.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a documentary style thing I wanted to try out. It's pretty cool. I like it, but there's one clip where I'm trying to record the audio of the arena and the goal goes in and you can just hear in the background. I'm like, yeah, I do a very awkward, like I'm trying to be quiet, but I just squeeze out a goal celebration.
Right.
Tough to do when your team puts one in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who else you got on your team?
I got Nick Suzuki right under Caulfield. You know, I had them starting tonight.
A little hometown bias.
Of course. There's going to be a little bit. After that, Sebastian Aho from Carolina, another guy who has been underwhelming, still decent, but underwhelming. I want more from him. Okay. After that is where we start to get to the nitty gritty. Okay. I got Victor Hedman, the Dan Gattenby of the NHL. Okay.
Boom. Lightning and thunder. Imagine Dragons.
I got, yes. That song really bothered me. I'm not going to lie. I just,
me too.
Because it just got so overplayed. And I feel like that band, you know what? Real quick comment on that band. Great band, lots of consistent music, but some songs, that one in particular, are so out of like character and just suck. Like the
really. So what's the rest of their discography? Is just skate punk or what?
I don't know. I like it. I like a lot of it, but that song, the Thunder, Lightning, and that one's, and then the other one is like I'm on Top of the World. It's jolly and happy, but it's like, hey, no, we like Radioactive, you know.
Yeah.
We want that other one where he sang to the kid who was sick.
Feel it in my bones. Dude, welcome to the new age, right?
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? Speaking of Lightning and the Thunder, they could have the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Oklahoma City Thunder do a mashup.
You could, yeah.
You know? Anyone think of that? Just us.
Kucherov and you
Shea
know,
Gilgis Alexander,
yeah, Canadian guy. He's great.
or just
Hey,
Tampa Bay turns their hockey team into the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Thunders.
yeah, and then that's when they'll start losing.
Who else you got on defense?
I got Rasmus Dahlin, who just quickly
Oh,
coach times the Hedman. Yeah, I mean, come on, he's been a player and he's gonna be an even better one. After that, I got Mike Matheson, so there's a little bit of that bias peeking in a bit again. He's
that
so
guy sounds like a bricklayer, construction worker.
you'd think he was, but no, he was actually a guy that used to play for Pittsburgh, and he was good. He was
Oh
decent.
yeah, my dad has a friend named Gillis Matheson.
See, now that is a
That's a
guy.
good one. I don't think he smokes, but I think, in my head, he's
He
probably
should.
having a dart somewhere.
Oh, Daryl. Yeah. After that, I got Josh Morrissey, another great puck moving guy.
Nice.
Kind of Josh Morrissey, Aiden Morrison, kind of
Yep.
similar, especially this year because Aiden Morrison has been putting up those offensive points early on. So hey, maybe he'll be a little bit like him, which would be
You think
great.
the Jets will make the playoffs?
Do I think they will, and I think they should. And if they did any less than that, then it's a fail. Like just like any
Yeah.
team. But for them, just based on their team build, there's not much of an excuse why they can't just be competing with the rest of them. They definitely don't have as much scoring options, but man, they got some players. They
Yep.
got some players that the league seems to forget about. They still got Trifley, which I have, by the way, forgot to mention him. You got Trifley. We got Andre
Uh-huh.
as well. Two great
Nice.
players, but they got players. The Jets got some players that not a lot of people think about. It's kind of like, who it's kind of like? It's kind of like the Lakers, but I'd say the Lakers are a much higher up team than the Jets if we're
Yeah.
looking at it just. But the Lakers are sneaky. They have players that you can't forget about.
Oh,
So
hell yes. They have some snipers on there.
yeah.
So
And
what
for the
about goalies?
I'll hit you with the goalies right now. Jake Ottinger, who
Oh,
is just a guy where he comes into the league and looks great. Sounds like Sean Parkinson for the Vikes. You know what I mean? He's came into the Vikes and just been fantastic. So kind of a
yes.
small guy.
The
Ottinger,
Dallas Cowboys.
yep. And
Not
my last
exactly, but
to finish off the fantasy team is Vanacek. So New Jersey, they're obviously looking to take a big step.
okay.
Yeah, that's their goalie. Schmid kind of took the reins in the playoffs last year. If you remember, new goalie. Well, not new goalie. I think he's a little older, but he came out of there and kind of stole the job. And Vanacek was a great season guy. So hopefully we can get those good season numbers. He's been pretty good. So
Nice.
let's move on to what the crowd, the audience, the fans, the friends have been looking forward to. Let's go right
Yes.
now. It's our BCIHL #1 unit. So how is this going to work?
Well,
Break it down.
I was just thinking about hockey pools. Last year we had our fantasy team, right?
Yep.
This year we're doing it at about 40% into the season. So, you know what? I thought maybe what we should do is, Reese, let's build our own BCIHL #1 unit.
All right.
It'll be hockey pool style where, why don't you read out the players and then we'll pick one from each group.
Okay.
And since you're playing a bit of a road game now, I'll give you the first pick. And then at the end, we'll kind of do maybe we'll do a couple wild card picks. Let's make it up as we go along. But it won't be necessarily about points this year, but it'll be about taking your #1 unit through the season and then before playoffs, kind of defending your #1 unit going into the playoffs. How does that sound? Does that make sense?
I like it. Maybe we'll go group for group on reading the names. How does that sound?
Yes, exactly. We'll go group by group and make our selections.
Cool.
And I'm sorry if we forgot anybody, but
yes,
we did our best here to make our #1 unit in the corners. BCIHL.
Well, let's get it going. All right. You want to read out the first one and then I'll pick?
Sure. Group #1, Brock Palmer, Gavin Maddie, Ryan Strange, KT Walters, Simon Nemeth, Ethan Jones, Sam Schofield, and Nick Wagner. Nick Wagner's got my favorite goal of the year, by the way. Can I tell you about it quickly?
Oh, break it down. Yeah, break this one.
6-5 game for the Vikes. 1 minute left in the game. The puck was loose in front of the goalie. Parkinson had come in he took over for Japo.
Yep.
And Wagner, he wears number 12, and he was doing an Aginla out there.
Ooh.
He was in front of the net, and he was on his knees or one knee, and he found the loose puck and kind of took a slap shot from his knees right in the hash marks, and it tied the game. It was really frustrating as a Vikes fan because then it was 6-6. It had to go to overtime, but it was my favorite visiting goal of the year so far. Group number 1, Reese, what do you think of that? Who's going to be on your number 1 unit?
Oh, it's got to be Ethan Jones. It's not even going to take me a moment to choose that. It has to be him. He's the guy. He's the guy that's going to want to prove to the league he is him. So we'll see. We'll see. And
He's going to prove he is him.
You got it.
Nice. I'm learning this lingo as I go. What else are you thinking about Jones?
No, I just think he's the offensive guy. I think he's the trustworthy guy for the Mariners. They're going to put their offensive reliance on him. They're going to give him the big moments, and he's going to take advantage like he already has the last 2 seasons. So, yeah, he's already got a great start. I think he's just going to continue it.
Right on. From group 1, for my number 1 unit, I'm going with Sam Schofield. I'm going with the number 1 centerman on the number 1 team in the league. As the season goes along, he's going to establish himself as a leader for the Vikes, and he's going to be in there causing all kinds of problems. And you know what? He's scoring too. 13 points so far in 7 games. Schofield, number 1 unit. I'm taking him.
Exciting times. Can't blame you for that one. Cannot blame you. All
Group
right,
number 2.
Yeah, I'll read this one out.
Sounds good, buddy.
Thanks. Logan Kirky from VIU, Marian Pazitska from the Miners, Max Lightfoot from SFU, Thomas Jenkins from UVic, Carter Benson from the Lakers, Jordan Lario from Logan Lake, Booker Daniel from the Vikes, Ethan McKinley from the Lakers, and Jason German from SFU. So who are you gonna make? I'll give you the first pick. I'll go right after you.
All right. Well, I love Thomas Jenkins so far this season. That's where my heart is going. But you know what? I'm mixing in for my number 1 unit from the Miners, Jordan Lario. Okay. He wears number 8 for them, and he speeds around on the wing. He's constantly getting odd man rushes. He blows by the defenseman. He goes to the net. He causes rebounds. People come in there and whack the puck in. He's kind of a similar player to Schofield, to be honest. So I got to shout out my guys, the Miners. They're going to do it. They're going to get that victory this season. I think they're going to get more than one. And Jordan Lario is going to make it happen for them. He's on my number 1 unit.
Well, I'm glad you made that pick because it made it more interesting, but I'm going to make it less interesting. I'm going VIU again. Logan Kirky. He's putting up points. He's a new guy on the block. He's slid right into that lineup, no problem. Going for him. I think he's a guy who can put up that production. Come on.
Can't blame you for that one. Their power play is going to start clicking and make everyone cry out for mercy. We'll see, though. Group number 3, Stratton Pickett, UVic, Carson Earhart, VIU, Colton Boyarsky, Oklahoma, Okanagan, Aiden Bangs, VIU, Jordan Lario again, sorry about that, Aleko Sadrakis, UVic, Tom Sweeney, UVic, Matthew Young, SFU, and Owen Chamberlain, Okanagan Lakers. Chamberlain, I think, is the biggest player in the league, I think. Maybe him or DeShepard.
Oh.
Yeah. Group number 3, Reese. Who are you taking for your number 1 unit?
I'm going for the new guy, Aleko Sadrakis. He is the Greek Canadian lad. He's even if you look on the internet, on Elite Prospect, he's got that little slash with the Israel flag. So, Israel. Wrong place. Very different.
Similar colors, right?
Yeah. Greek flag. So shout out to the Greeks. Shout out to Sidrakis. He's the guy. He's the pick. And that's you know what? That's all I'm gonna say.
You know what? He's been awesome for the Vikes. He scored an overtime winner in preseason. He flies around. He does that thing. Who's that guy on the? I think it's Bertuzzi on the Leafs. He's famous because he only uses a little bit of stick tape.
Yep.
Or you ever see players that do that? Just a little bit of tape.
Right.
Sidrakis has a bit of that vibe going on. Just a little tape. He's always kind of just flying off the rails. You know,
Flying off the rails.
he skates by,
Yeah.
and you could feel the wind, and the cold goes right to the heart.
Ozzy Osbourne type hockey player.
Exactly. He's Ozzy Osbourne. So I respect that pick.
Yeah.
I'm delaying a little bit because at one point here, I got to take a Lakers because I'm a big believer in their offense.
Okay.
But I'm going to hold off on that. I love Pickett too for his big goal ability, but he's injured right now.
Oh,
So I'm good.
What's the injury diagnosis? Do we know?
I don't know. The Vikes, you know, after all of this analysis we've been doing, the Vikes have had some key injuries too, but we can talk about that later. I'm going with Carson Ehrhardt though.
Okay.
You know, I'm a homer now. I can't help it. I'm a homer for the Vikes, so it pains me to pick the VIU guys, but you got to respect the skill they have over there.
Oh, yeah.
And Carson Ehrhardt, he's kind of the big man over there. He lumbers around and he whips them on net. He's got 6 or 7 goals already. He has a knack for big goals, you know, at big moments that kind of break our hearts. So Carson Ehrhardt is going to be on my number 1 unit. He's my VIU guy. That's it for group 3.
All right. Going on to group 4. Gavin Rouser, VIU, great player, fast skater. Ethan Anstey, recent interviewee on this show. Joe Davidson from the Lakers, Liam Tivers from SFU, Alec Pettingale is that guy you've been mentioning a couple times from SFU, Johnny Carmichael from the Lakers, and Lucas Thompson from.
Oh, that's a bit of a hot group, Reese.
Oh man. You know what? I'm gonna have to pick Johnny Carmichael. I think this is a guy who can put up some points. I think he's put himself in a good position on that Lakers team. A lot of guys from the Lakers they just seem like players who you can almost picture in your head them making a big play in a big moment. These seem like guys who are going to compete, making the league very interesting, don't you think?
Yes, I will admit Johnny Carmichael is my favorite new player in the league on another team. He's from Regina, for crying out loud. Gotta love him. He kind of plays in front of the net, kind of like Lucas Thompson for the Vikes. He's a big man in front of the net, you know, so I will admit you stole my idea there. This is a tough group.
It
Hard
is
to pick who you would have on my number 1 unit. You know, Gavin Rouser is the captain of the Mariners now. And he's playing on the top line with Kirky and Jones. Palmer plays down the lineup a little bit and they all reunite for the power play. But I'm going to have to go out on a limb here a little bit and give some respect for the Red Leafs. I'm going to take Pettingale. He wears, I think he's number 8 for SFU. We only saw them one time and we don't know what their season's going to be like, but for my number 1 unit, I want to have a bit of each team to blend in here. Tivers I like too. He's the big guy, but I already have Ehrhardt for my size, right? So I'm going to go with Alec Pettingale for SFU. Hoping they rack them up there. Maybe SFU, you know what? SFU, they took the Vikes to overtime. That was a nail biter. That was a panic mode it was 5-1 SFU there halfway through the game. Did you know that?
Oh, I didn't know they took such a big lead.
SFU might jump up and beat one of these teams, you know, like maybe the Mariners, you know, who knows? Don't know much about you, but I'm going out on faith here. Pettingale is on my number 1 unit.
Interesting. Choice.
Yeah. Lucas Thompson is in there too, but he's got 3 goals already. You would love it watching him play. He's really established. You remember last year he played about half the games and he was healthy, scratched half the games. Now he's one of the big dogs there.
That's good. I think that was the plan. It seemed like he had a little bit of a development plan from Harry there. So glad it worked out because he's already producing it.
Yeah. And Ethan Anstey is one of my favorite players in the league too. Yeah. He told me that whenever Flin Flon wins a game, they throw a moose foot or something on the ice for good luck, something weird like that. So,
dude, imagine playing for a team called Flin Flon. That's such a sick name. That's so intimidating.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad. Be afraid, Reese.
Flin Flon.
That's northern too.
Yeah, up there.
That reminds me of I've been watching a bit of that Shoresy, the hot hockey show, and they talk about tough native players, tough indigenous players, but that's a redundant statement because all indigenous players are tough. That's kind of a joke they have running in the show. Are you familiar with that show?
No, I don't. You know what? I should be a prime candidate to watch it, but I am not a big show guy. I just am so inconsistent with watching it. I can't commit. The only thing I have been committing to successfully for the first time in my life is the show Sopranos. I just started.
Okay.
I'm a big fan. Have you seen it?
Yes, I have. I've watched it.
It is good. It's a good show.
Well, maybe that's a whole new podcast. We can have a little Sopranos in the corners.
Yeah.
But some of these teams, like in the northern communities, down where I grew up, there was some awesome indigenous hockey players, and they joke around about how you get the native flu. You don't want to play the indigenous guys because they're gonna beat the crap out of you. So before the game, you tell the coach you're sick.
Yeah,
that's what like Larange, Flin Flon. There was a team called the LeBret Eagles near where I grew up. They were really good. Not Fort Capel. I think it's Fort Capel area. That's where Ethan Bear is from. Anyway, I'm rambling now. Are you ready for Group 5?
Let's do it.
Number 1 unit. Why don't you read them this time? I've been talking a lot here.
Brian Magic from the Vikes. Great guy. Where's number 96, I think? I think that's the number, 95, 96, something.
He's 91 this year.
91. There you go. Yeah. Great. Will Norman from
or 19. I think he's 19. Sorry. He's 19. Yeah.
Oh, he wears 19, Magic?
Yeah, he's 19 now. Yeah.
That's nice. Maybe that's the number he's been waiting for.
Because he's playing well.
He's a great player. He was a good penalty kill guy. I feel like he would come sneak out right after that penalty ends and kind of catch the team on a breakaway. Good skater.
He's scoring more this year. A couple big goals.
Nice. Yeah. This is what we love to see, especially with those. It is a really good thing that those older players are getting involved because that's something that I felt that was definitely missing early on last year with the Vikes is that you had Braun and that line working. And then the veteran guys who carried a lot more of the load last year, the year previous, weren't cooking as much. But now we're seeing everybody cook. So good to news. But let's keep going on with Group 5. So we have Brian Magic. Number 2 is Will Norman from the Mariners. Garrett Gilbertson with the Lakers. Jackson Egan, great guy. Remember play-by-play talking about that guy.
Yep.
Brady Rattinger. Matthew Johnston with the Lakers, Logan Fontaine with the Miners, and Caleb Franklin with VIU. So I'll give you that first pick.
You know what's crazy? I think I missed Gavin Matty from Logan Lake, but I'm probably missing somebody, but you guys will forgive us. Gavin Matty he's from the what are they called? Larange Ice Wolves.
Right.
And he's a sick player. Group 5. All right, I'm getting off track here. Number 1 unit. I'm going to go. I need to get a Lakers guy here. I got everyone so far except for them. So I'm going with Gilbertson. He's a captain type person, a leader on the team. He's scoring more this season. He's a second or third line player, but don't let that fool you because he's the heart and soul of the team. At first blush, you're going to look and see all those new scorers. but what's really holding them together is Garrett Gilbertson, players of that ilk. I really value that on my team. So Garrett Gilbertson from the Lakers is part of my number one unit.
Can't hate that. Can't hate that. GG from the Lakers.
You know, especially if you're going to talk about the Lakers having a big second half going into the playoffs. If all goes well for them, if they start popping off, putting up crooked numbers, filling the nets, Gilbertson is the type of player that's going to be kind of like a Stratton Pickett, you know, like he's like the guts. I say he's like at the heart of the team, you know, so that's my pick. Take that, Reese.
Oh, okay. I'm going to go for Brian Magic. It's got to be him.
Nice.
He's the guy. He's got the number he wanted finally. He's playing big time with this new Vikes team for this year. That's obviously working out great with that number one position so far. But obviously, got to go Brian Magic. He's a great player, good right-handed man. He's gonna put more numbers on the stat sheet, and he's gonna keep bringing the Vikes to victory like he has been.
Right on. Now we're going to move to defensemen here.
Let's do it.
We have two groups. So I think we'll just pick one from each group. I don't know. We'll see what happens. We can do whatever we want here.
Yeah, we'll keep
Group
it.
7, 4 defensemen. Dan Gattenby, UVic, Joshua Pufall, VIU, Max Struss, the Maximilian one, VIU, Zach Park, Okanagan, Owen Evers, UVic, Reese Lefebvre, a local favorite, SFU, Isaac Dutka, Okanagan Lakers, Josh Dahlquist, Okanagan Lakers, Zylan Watson, the Miners, G. DeShepper, big goal against the Vikes the other day, Okanagan Lakers, Tyson Lotard, VIU, and Sebastian Archambault, VIU. Reese, pick your defenseman for your number one unit. I dare you.
Dan Gattenby. Get it down, because that's the man, that's the guy. He had some great answers for some pretty key questions about the mentality of the leader he is with this Vikes team when he had his interview with us here on the show. But you got to go for the captain of the Vikes. He's got them rolling. He's probably in a positive mindset. He's got some big stuff going on in terms of his career coming in the next couple of years.
Yes.
And he's playing some good hockey, man. That's all I can say.
You know what, Reese? I like my team. Don't get me wrong. I like where I'm headed with my number one unit, but I gotta say, your team is looking pretty good. Your team is stacked. I love the Gattenby pick. I'm going to keep it local for my pick as well. I'm taking the big Cougar, 65 Owen Evers. You know what's crazy about Evers so far? 15 points in 7 games, but he has 6 goals. All right. Now, like, just think about that. This is a defenseman. He's scoring almost every game.
Yeah.
And big goals against VIU, the overtime winner against SFU. You watch that SFU game, the highlights, every play, he starts it skidding up the ice. There's no limit for this guy's career in this league. You know, he's just getting started. So Owen Evers, number one
exciting.
unit. It's exciting. What do you think? Should we go on to the next group?
I think we should.
Right. Read them and weep, Reese.
All right. Group 8 you're looking at right there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Kyle Crew. Great player for the Vikes. Cole McGuire. Jordan Foe from VIU. That guy was sneaky. He was sneaky against the Vikes many games. Aiden Morrison, trustworthy guy. Noah Danforth. Lyndon DeGo. Adrian Schaefer from the Miners, Quentin Sidaway from the Vikes, and Troy Warnsnick from the Red Leafs. So who you going to pick first?
You know what? I can't help it. I'm kind of being a homer again. You know, Lyndon DeGo's got 2 or 3 goals already. Did you know that? I think he's got 2 goals.
Holy.
Kyle Crew, I'm super stoked. He's injured, but you know, in the preseason, he was on the top pairing with Gattenby. So the Vikes are doing all of this without one of their top two defensemen there. Evers fills it nicely there, no doubt about that. I'm looking around. I'm also a huge fan of Sitaway for the Vikes. And Schaefer. Oh my goodness. I'm trying to be fair and spread things around here. You know what though? Aiden Morrison. He's the assistant captain this year. He's leading the Vikes. He's a role player for them, but he's out there a lot. And I'm going to take him on my number one unit. He's got 7 points. He's second in defensive scoring so far. I'll take Morrison.
Nice.
How about you?
I am actually going to go for Kyle Crew. I think he's a trustworthy guy with that puck in the back end. I think he's a good player. So I'm just going to go for him. He's a Vikes guy. Again, that or has just been a staple. They've really facilitated Parkinson to have some success. And yeah, I'm going to go for that guy.
That's going to be bananas when he comes back. I mean, the season's not over, but I feel like UVic have the best defense core in the league. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, their depth is so good. Guys can come in and out.
We'll see how it goes. VIU, Lakers, they're no joke. But even adding Crew to that. Hey, let's do something with the defenseman. I'll throw it back to you. Let's pick a defenseman from a different team because we got 4 Vikes players accidentally here. Can be from group 7 or 8, doesn't matter. Pick one that you like from a different team.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you said that because I'm already going for Max Struss. He's a great defenseman. He's a strong player. He's always been a pest to play against. He's always had, he's the type of guy who looks the same way he does in the first 5 minutes to the last 5 minutes. He's a consistent player. So you got to go for a guy like that. Who are you going to pick?
Love that pick. I'm going with Zach Park from the Lakers. Hard to say who's going to get the most points for the Lakers from the defensemen. They don't have a lot going on. G. DeShepper is playing on the power play, kind of in that Ovechkin spot. You know how they pass it around and try and tee up that guy on the side, like Ovechkin style? They're doing that with DeShepper, so he's got a couple goals that way. I just look at Park as kind of a important player to support Dutka, Dahlquist, what they already have going there.
Right.
Remember Gabruk? Does that name ring a bell? From last year? He's kind of their new Gabruk.
Okay.
But who knows how that'll go. So Zach Park, though, he'll be my dark horse for the Lakers. I'm invested in the Lakers, clearly.
Oh, yeah.
To the goalies.
All right. Goalies. I'll let you read them out. You read them out now.
Derek Krall, VIU. Sean Parkinson, UVic. Cooper Giesbrick, SFU. Jeremy Robar, VIU. Hunter Tarvis, UVic. Connor Lemieux, Okanagan. Frederick LaRochelle, Okanagan. Matthew Enns, Logan Lake. Jacob Drapeau, UVic. Mason Kelly, Logan Lake. Jaden Little, Okanagan. And Jamie Peterson, SFU. Peterson. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you got it. Can I make it? RHYS Savoy is proud to select Matthew Enns. I'm taking him. Oh. Yeah, I'm going off the board here, off the expectation, and the reason why is because you got me excited with the idea that he is going to step in and be that guy for the team to get their first couple wins.
Well, hell yes, he is. Yeah,
I mean, we had him on the show. We did an interview with him. Great guy, but also he's been put through the ringer. Let's be frank. He's been put through the ringer with that team, but I think he's driven and he's positive. So he's a guy who can bring them to their first win.
That's going to be a big day, and that's happening this year. That is a heart and soul pick, and I am inspired. Yeah, I'm looking at this goalie list, and there's no way around Sean Parkinson for UVic. I mean, I just find him to be in control of the game when it's being played. He fights hard for rebounds. His team plays confidently in front of him.
Yeah.
He keeps the Vikes in the game when they're down a goal or two. There was a couple players who told me they look up to him, which usually the goalie is kind of the oddball of the group. He's a leader on the team. And kind of like Matthew Enns is going to kind of decide the fate of the Miners. Parkinson is going to decide the fate of the Vikes in a way. I mean, it's not all about one player, but he's driving the bus. So I'll take Parkinson. You want to take a backup goalie? Or should we leave it at that?
Just in case of injury. Yeah, you know what? And for the backup, I'm going to take Drapeau because he's been around. He was the guy last year. We're keeping him. I still have hope for him to be a very good asset to this Vikes team, as he already has been. So he'll just increase himself as a useful player to this team that's looking to win a lot. That great record.
I like that pick. Good backup goalie there. Although he won 8 games for the Vikes last year. I'm going to go off the board. I mean, the Lakers goalies have been great so far, but I've picked a few Lakers lately. So I'm going to go back to VIU and kind of back up one of my theories here, put my name on the line a little bit. I'm going to take Jeremy Robar. It's likely that Kral is going to play all the way down the stretch. That's probably going to happen. But I got a feeling about him, just I got a hunch about him that he's going to be a big character at some point this season. Could be wrong. Maybe they also have Wyatt Fournier, who's a good goalie too. But I got a hunch that he's going to be a character that's going to walk out at some point and win a big game. So SFU goalies are good. Hate to pass up on you guys, but Jeremy Robar for VIU. Now, RHYS, should we do 1 or 2 wild card picks and then just kind of wrap up this number 1 unit? Anybody up on the board there that was missed that you're dying to have?
Yeah, you know what? I will for a wild card pick. I'll take. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna take it on second thought. I'm gonna go for Jordan Foe. He's the type of guy who's consistent in the lineup. He kind of reminds me of like a Kyle Crew once he comes back into the lineup, but obviously a little bit a step above for a guy like Foe. He's pretty tough to match up against. He's a consistent guy, so gotta go for the Mariners defenseman.
I love that. I see Jenkins on the board. Gavin Matty, he's an unreal player. But I'm going to go with Nick Wagner. He's the captain of SFU. He's got my favorite goal of the year. Ethan Jones had a spinorama goal that was good too. SFU, I want them to be competitive, right? And Wagner's the captain for SFU. So I'm going to add him to my number 1 unit and wish those guys a good season with a good, healthy season. So RHYS, BCIHL number 1 unit, Jones, Kirky, Sadrakis, Carmichael, Magic, Gattenby, Cruz, Struss, Matthew Enns, Drapeau, and Foe. How are you feeling?
Love it. I wouldn't like to make 0 changes.
Number 1 unit for me, Schofield, Lario, Earhart, Pettengale, Gilbertson, Evers, Morrison, Park, Parkinson, Robar, and Nick Wagner. How about that rundown?
Apples.
All right, buddy.
All right.
Let's look into our number 1 unit later in the season, hey?
Good. And you know what? If people stuck through all the way to the end, you're a real BCIHL fan, and you should put some stock into who you think has the better lineup.
Yeah. Who did we miss? Who's got the better number 1 unit? Are we crazy, or are we on to something? Or are we on to nothing?
All right.
All right, pal. Well, thanks. Great to see you again, by the way, dude.
It's good. It's good to get back on the show. We'll get this episode up as soon as possible, and we'll go from there, man.
Sounds good, man. Vikes are off next weekend. 3 more games before the holidays for the Vikes.
Exciting time. Oh, only 3. Wow. Okay.
That's right, pal. Then a big tournament in the 9